MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure. MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure. MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure.
Charlotte Motor Speedway is easily a NASCAR classic. The track dates back to 1960 and has hosted each season's longest race, the Coca-Cola 600, each year since. IndyCar may have their month of May up in Speedway, but I quite like things down at Charlotte, especially with V8s roaring around the racetrack. Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Concord, North Carolina. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Tom Baker back alongside as always, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of the MillerTech 300K at Charlotte for Steering Wheel Nation. Tonight's coverage is brought to you by MillerTech, by Inside Groove Pit Pass, and by Martin PC, and it's good to be here at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. I never get tired of saying that, Tom. This is genuinely one of my favorite racing facilities to go to, whether it's in real life, whether it's as a fan, whether it's as a broadcaster, whether it's on iRacing. It doesn't matter. I really genuinely love this racetrack, the other racetracks it has around it. I'm just waiting for 10/10ths to make it onto the sim.
Oh, boy, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah, then they need to get the IROC series going at that facility. That was a great weekend a few weeks ago, but good to be with you at Charlotte Motor Speedway and excited about race number 3 in the SWN Truck Series. This race, once again, being brought to you by MillerTech. It is the MillerTech 300. MillerTech Lithium Batteries is the sponsor, and we are super excited to be back and ready to go on a Friday night.
I'm excited. This place always puts on good racing. We actually had a broadcast here Monday night with 2003 NASCAR Cup cars. It was a 450-mile race. Not quite that 600-mile length, but it was still a long one, and it was a fantastic event. I expect just the same here this evening. Of course, we have been, admittedly, pretty solid, right, with the same kind of drivers and whatnot last couple of rounds, so we haven't necessarily broken into our second page here at the standings, but I can say after tonight we will be adding some drivers here onto that right side as we expand our footprint with this series, Tom. And that said, you can see the standings coming into this evening's race, and there are a handful of drivers that are on that left side that have points that are not making tonight's race.
Yeah, we've got a few actually that are not with us this evening for different reasons. Dalton Kilroe had a family member graduating college this evening, so Daytona Dalton will be back with us in June at Nashville, and Finn Robinson also with some issues this evening, not able to make the call, and so we're going to miss Finn tonight, but and Dawson Guzik as well. He's missed 2 in a row. He'll be back for June. Hopefully he's got a business that's really taken off on him, which is a great thing. But we've got 3 of our biggest names not here, which means opportunity for somebody else. And as we look ahead to our schedule, you see that we do go to Nashville in June. We race about once a month. We've got a couple of months coming up where we'll run twice. But we're kind of building this up slowly here as we get more racers. We'll have more races. Nashville in June, Michigan in July, Atlanta Motor Speedway in August. And I think that we've got a couple of TBDs, and I believe that we're probably going to go to Richmond and possibly North Wilkesboro on those dates. Talladega in the middle in September. And that takes us into October, where we get Chicagoland, Phoenix in November, and one more to be announced at the end of November before we get to the championship at Homestead, Miami. It is your best 12 out of 13, and all the winners get a trophy. They get an interview on my TV show, The Tom Baker Show, on PowerTube TV, Monday nights, 8 p.m., by the way. And we do quite a lot of media. We're going to be ramping that up as we go from this round into the next one even more. So a lot of pre and post race media as well. So we're trying to basically build this into as close to treatment of a professional racing league as we possibly can. And a fairly big announcement for the champion in the works too, but we won't get into too much detail on that just yet. So lots of good stuff to come this year, and we hope that we'll get some more racers into the league. We're excited to try and elevate what we do a little bit and use our national media to help build some brands, and that's where we are. So good to be at Charlotte, and we're excited about this race tonight. Some new faces and new places here, and so it'll be fun to see how this one goes. Grayson Greaves, the driver that probably stands to gain the most here. He's second in points right now, and he's had two real strong runs. Ran out of gas on the last lap at the line, coming to the line at Daytona, but solid second place run last week. So Grayson in the 05 out of Florida is going to be one of the ones to beat here this evening, I do believe.
And we have a couple of drivers that we'll talk to. At least one of them is for sure a driver. The other might be subbing in the driver's seat this evening. But one of those two, the first of those two, is Chris Winstone, who does some work with us on the side for the North American Racing League, which is very different from what we do here on Friday nights. We, of course, saw you on track last night at Road America, Chris. Tonight, things are just a little bit different. NASCAR trucks, Charlotte Motor Speedway. Would you say this is easier or harder than what you did last night?
Oh, man, that's a hard question. I mean, I think the best analogy I've heard for it came from old Jimmer, who said, it's like comparing gloves to shoes. You kind of need them both, and they just serve a different purpose. So it's kind of how I feel here. I feel like the ovals, I don't require as much like track specific practice, still a lot, but the strategy, there's a lot more that goes into it there. With NARL, I can pretty much just turn on, the crew chief and let him kind of just run the show and knows how to get me to the end and everything. Here, I actually have to think for myself, which is a new thing for me. So they're both definitely challenging in their own different ways.
Well, I know if you're at Watkins Glen for the NASCAR race this weekend, you need both gloves and shoes. That's how that works out. Chris, last week, a great run for you with us in Vegas. You had a strong run going, and of course, it didn't end the way that you wanted it to, but talk a little bit about that day, because I felt like you really showed a lot of improvement and a lot of control, honestly, for most of that race, getting up into the top 5.
Yeah, it was fun. I felt like I did pretty good on the long runs. I noticed at the end I actually had really good pace compared to everybody else, and my tires were in really good shape. So I think that's the main thing I've been trying to work on, is just be really, really smooth. And I do think the road racing helps a little bit with that. I'm kind of used to the real steady, easy application of throttle, and luckily I don't need to use the brakes too much yet, but we'll see how we do when we get to the short tracks. I feel like I might get jostled around a bit when we get there, but I'm looking forward to those too. So yeah, it was really good. Had a run in with I think it was McCook there at the end. He was running people down to the apron, so I knew he was going to do it. So honestly, and I caught the car. I just kind of a rookie mistake. What happened was I was in that grass, and when I got on the throttle to rejoin the track, it bogged down. I was like, oh, well, then I'll just downshift to third. And man, I touched that throttle just a little bit, and phew, just off into the wall I went. So really that was, the incident with him was one thing, but I took myself out of that race for sure. Hopefully a little bit better today about that.
And Chris, obviously it's been a lot of fun watching kind of transition to doing more of this oval stuff, and I know there's a bunch of opportunities down the road for you, but if you had to guess, I know we're looking at about 9 right now, might get a 10th or 11th before this session closes up for the night. Can you guess about where you're going to finish? You're 5th right now on timing charts, right in the middle.
Yeah, and that time was set solo, so no draft or anything with anybody. So I think that's a pretty good sign. And that was smooth on the tires and everything. So we got a lot more grip than we did that first practice session that Jourdain and I had hopped into. So that's one thing I'm kind of trying to feel out, is how much I can push. It seems like we've got a lot more grip right now. And we'll just kind of see how that evolves. It does get a little sketchy. I was warned that that high line can get pretty sketchy, so I was trying to run that a little bit. I don't know, maybe I think if I do okay, I think I could probably get top 4, maybe top 3 would be pretty happy. I think I'd be happy about that.
Well, I know one of the guys that might be worth leaning on for a mentor just went fastest there in practice. Chris, good to talk to you as always. Hopefully we're talking to you later.
Yep, thanks, fellas. Have a good one.
That's Chris Winstone in truck number 37 this evening, running one of the Fords. We do finally have a Ram in the field, by the way, thanks to Cameron Taylor. And we have one more guy that we want to talk to, and that's the guy who has been kind of playing race control. I'm not sure if Tom is letting him loose yet for the evening or not, but we will bring him in at least and chat with Zach Murtis, who does admittedly have some pretty solid stats to back him up here on the iRacing side of things. I mean, A-class, of course, 5,674 I rating here, Zach. That's some pretty healthy numbers. And on the graphic, we see Races Semi-Pro at Cookout Summer Shootout. Obviously, your Legends program has come up in many broadcasts before. We've talked about it, how people can support you. I hear you've got some updates.
Nothing that I'm willing to share at this current time.
So the update is that there's updates.
Update is that there's updates. We've got some plans in the works. We're trying to make things happen. Obviously, it's all a huge work in progress. There's a lot of things happening behind closed doors, but hopefully the intention is to run Cookout Summer Shootout this year. We'll have some updates on that as we go into the summer months, but everything's looking positive at the moment. We just need to keep the momentum rolling in the right direction.
Well, it definitely would be a great opportunity for you. I know you've been wanting to get back, obviously, just getting clearance off of your injury from last year, which is great news. Happy to hear that, Zach. And you've done a great job for us as RD, and looks like you're going to be suiting up and taking a ride tonight and trying to challenge for a win.
Yeah, Charlotte's home turf. So I have to come out here and show these guys 1-4 and see if I can't, not get rusty. But Charlotte's always a track that I like to run, and, well, this amazing league has been needing some extra cars to have some fun with, and I figure, you know what? Let's go out here and show them what for and see what we can't do. So hopefully we'll be able to bring this car to victory lane in one piece and maybe win ourselves a trophy at the end of the night.
Well, we don't want you to have to park yourself, so make sure that you're make sure you're on your best behavior there, Race Director.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I guess since you're race control, first of all, I can congratulate you on going fastest right there so far in this qualifying session. But since you're race control, I can ask you, is this a full 15-minute qualifying session, or is it extended
I made a
little
mistake.
bit? Okay, just making sure. Well, hey, I guess we'll wait for this lap to come in. I can spot you really quick to the line if you'd like that. You're all clear. Clear all around. No worries. Nobody in your mirror. Clear all around to the line. There you go. Checkered flag for you. Zach, it's good to talk to you as always. Obviously, like to have you on the broadcast, but hey, look at that. Faster on the racetrack still. Might want to get that ping thing figured out, though.
Working on it.
Well, Zach, best of luck tonight.
Absolutely.
And so we'll let him get back to his duties and such as I move. Jeez, Discord is breaking on me. That's okay. We'll get Zach moved back up. We'll get things moving forward once again. I can see we've got Hobbs in the session now here, Tom, and it's good to see the number 88 finally getting in a little bit late. So I wonder if he's going to be stressing a little bit about a lack of practice. But as these guys qualify, Hobbs has gone 5th so far in this session.
Not too bad. Big dog Bryce Hobbs, who has raced karts and micro sprints for a while, and not doing as much time in the seat as I know he would like to do at this point, but very good on the sim here, and he's had a couple of top 5 runs so far, and is very good in points.
Yeah, of course, as far as points go, the select few that have made all 3, or at least 2 of the 3 races to start the season off, certainly will have an advantage, but there is that drop to kind of keep those other drivers in contention at least a little bit as the year goes on and we approach November later on here in 2026. Here's Jourdain White on the racetrack, the Jamaican sensation, as we call him, also the Jourdain Train. He is a young driver out of Jamaica. He just likes to go fast, turn to the left, and sometimes to the right. And he's a little off there on lap 1, Tom, but lap 2, that's going to be the money lap.
Yes. for sure. And White right now is sitting in P7. Needs about a second here to get himself into the mix. Good to have Bourdain with her. Oh boy.
And he grabbed the wall there. That's going to invalidate that lap time, and it would have been a 30.4. That would have put him about 5th place, just ahead there of Chris Winstone. Unfortunately, that lap will not count for Jourdain White. And that leaves Sam Dyer, who typically does not qualify in the races that we see him in. That leaves Sam Dyer and Sheriff Walker yet to turn a time in this qualifying session. If I had to guess right now, Tom, I would guess that Zach is likely talking to these drivers, kind of warning them about maybe things to watch for this evening and such. Yeah. So as he does that, again, we can kind of look ahead at what's upcoming. Now, you said we're kind of expecting maybe a Richmond, maybe a North Wilkesboro, but Chris Winstone, he's been asking about a road course.
Yeah, that's the other thing that we're looking at, is trying to fit a road course in there. And in fact, originally we had Watkins Glen on the schedule, and I don't know actually how that got taken off. But so I would think there's probably a pretty good chance that we'll do at least probably one road course, but we want to try to keep it to the short tracks and the speedways if we can, especially while the field is smaller here. Hopefully we can build the field up and then have a bit of a broader schedule for our next season. But this first season, I think probably, I'm guessing Richmond and then maybe a North Wilkesboro and possibly Watkins Glen in some order or the other for those TBDs that you're seeing.
There you go. Some good info on where these extra dates might be headed. And certainly I think we'll kind of stick around kind of this race length, I would say, on the intermediates. Obviously, Nashville a bit of a different length, Michigan a little bit larger. Do you anticipate any longer, shorter races to mix things up, or kind of around this length?
I think, I mean, honestly, we're open to that. It's really, I want to make sure, as we build this up, I really want, the racers to have some input into, what they're liking and maybe wanting to do a little differently. But I think, this type of a length is a good length. It doesn't, it kind of keeps things compact and keeps these guys on their toes and racing. And so I would guess that probably for the short tracks, we may do some more laps for sure. And then, the road course, obviously that's if you go to a place like Watkins Glen, I think, you're really just trying to keep it so that we're not still racing at 1 a.m. in the morning. That's really the idea, is get everybody a nice race night on a Friday and give them a chance to still get a halfway decent night's sleep, right? So we'll see. But I don't think we're going to do anything too drastic, at least for the next few races. Try to keep everything around the same length.
So there you go, some extra info as we'll see the lights have been turned on as we get set to send 9 trucks around Charlotte Motor Speedway 124 times. Hopefully they make all the circuits around this place, maybe even a couple of extras if we go into some Steering Wheel Nation overtime this evening. But let's meet the starting grid for 124 laps this evening. Zach Murtis, of course, on pole, as we've mentioned, and he'll be followed by Grayson Greaves out of Florida. That young racer looking to make a splash here this evening. We'll see what he can do as he'll start ahead of Cameron Taylor, our first Ram of the series. That's cool to see, with Kyle Terzak over his right shoulder. And to wrap up the front half of the field, Chris Winstone there, that number 37. I got big hopes for him.
Yeah, Chris, this could be his track. He's starting next to the big dog, Bryce Hobbs, who will start 6th outside of row 3. And row 4, we got Jourdain White, the Jamaican racer. Glad to have him with us. And Sam Dyer in the 35, starting outside, and then rounding out the starting lineup, the Sheriff Walker in the number 17.
And the Whiplash Simcam's race details look like this: 124 laps, about 200. That should be 100. I did it again. I kept the same info in there, and therefore I copied it right back over. 187.5 miles, 301 kilometers. 4 change sets for these guys this evening, 100% fuel. The rest is about the same as you'd expect. And Weather conditions here quickly, 78 degrees in the air, 80 on track, partly cloudy skies. The humidity is nice and controllable. Honestly, I would take 45% most of the year here in this area of North Carolina, so that's not too bad at all, as the iRacing.com safety car will roll off to the relative safety of pit lane. We'll turn the music down, turn the engines up, and hand it over to Zach Murtis as we approach the green flag.
Green flag is in the air. The Miller Tech 300 is underway here at Charlotte the month of May for the SWN Truck Series. Our final race for the month. And boy, look at Grayson Greaves dropping to the bottom already. He's trying to challenge Zach Curtis for the lead. Greaves in the orange 05 tonight. Now Grayson's a trouble early.
Speaking of Grayson,
Grayson Greaves, yeah, announcer's curse. Ugh.
Problems there for Grayson Greaves off turn 4, as was very apparent. We'll go back and get a look at things for him. Kyle Terzak also in the wall down here in turns 1 and 2. So he's got trouble, and then Zach Murtis' truck, I think, he's actually got a lot of rear end damage. I wonder if he checked up for the pace car, and if Terzak maybe didn't get the memo.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see anything initially happen there, but we'll see. Here's Greaves coming from about a car length back.
If I had to guess, yeah, got loose middle of the corner and just snapped around on the overcorrection there.
Yep. Wow.
Thankfully, he only took himself in all of that, but then something happened down here with Kyle Terzak and Zach Murtis. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's what happened. But you know, if I think, I'm not sure that Terzak didn't get a small piece of Greaves there. If you look, watch from his in-car, nope, it's all clear.
I think this is just target fixation. We're looking at a different monitor or something, just kind of not really paying attention, and just scooped Zach right up and sent him around in turn 1.
Yeah, not sure his spotter saw the caution. Oof.
So he misses the spinner off of turn 4. And this is just one more look at him scooping at the back end of Murtis' truck and sending him around. You know what, though? Zach did a pretty good job of minimizing that and not taking anybody else out.
He sure did. That was actually it was a good piece of driving to be able to keep that under control. So the first 3 laps, already we've had 3 trucks with damage.
And that puts Cameron Taylor on point here on lap number 3. Kyle Terzak still in the pit lane receiving repairs. Might not have realized these drivers have a fast repair, or he's trying to save it. Unfortunately, he might be stuck there for a little bit. So we'll check back in on the 15 here shortly, but race leader Cameron Taylor, he actually won Tuesday evening's BRB Sundance Pro Series race here on Pitstop TV. That was in ARCA Cars Mexico City. This is, just like I was talking with Chris about, a very, very different ball game. At least in that case, those cars are much closer to what we're racing here this evening, both Ilmore power plants and relatively similar formulas to how they go fast, but yeah, just a little bit different from Mexico City to Charlotte Motor Speedway, but
quite a bit, actually.
But look at that, right back on point here, although it is by virtue of an early caution and simply not being involved.
Yeah, well, that's
half the battle.
I was going to say that's half the battle is being able to avoid situations and keep yourself out of trouble. So we had a little bit of a rocky start here. Let's see if we can get some good laps in.
And I wonder, Grayson Greaves has recently, within the last 30 seconds, moved down to a different racing channel in Discord. And that might not seem like a whole lot. But if they're getting chatty up there in the channel that he was in, and if he's trying to focus, especially with that spin on his mind, Tom, he might just need to clear his head, reset, refocus, and try this whole thing again. And, you know, when Zach got it in the session earlier, he even mentioned, he exclaimed, rather, that the truck is very, very squirrely, very loose, snappy loose. And,
snappy is the word he used.
Yeah, very snappy loose. So might be a struggle for these guys on cold tires. Let's try it all over again. 120 to go this time by the Miller Tech 300K at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Blue flag flies again, and they'll head off into turn one. This race has just gotten started, so everybody in the wreck is still in the race and still literally with a chance to win here. Just, again, clear the head and start moving forward. Greaves underneath Windstone trying to pick up an early spot just after the restart. Grayson, 17 years old, races Pro Trucks at New Smyrna Speedway down in Florida. Looking at potentially an ARCA start or two in 2027. Meanwhile, out front, it is the 88 of the big dog, Bryson Hobbs. White running in second, Taylor third, then Greaves, Mertez, Windstone, Walker, Dyer, and Terzak is a few laps down at the back of the field.
And Kyle Terzak still on the pit lane. Again, wonder if he might not have known about the fast repair for these drivers this evening. Sam Dyer goes fastest that time around on lap number 6. But look at Jourdain White. High, wide, and handsome through turns 1 and 2. Trying to find a way by this number 88. Hobbs locking down that bottom side into turn 3 this time. White says, thank you very much. I'll go right on by. Maybe.
I'm not so sure he's going to go right on by Bryce Hobbs here at this point. Hobbs still in control.
That time it was Sheriff Walker.
Inside. Wow.
That time it was Sheriff Walker fastest across the stripe. A 30.5. And down the backstretch, that top line finally going to pay off for Jourdain White. Greaves, though, and Murtis up to 3rd and 4th. Taylor sinking to 5th. Windstone to 6th. Walker to 7th and Dyer to 8th. This little top half battle, Greaves is bullying himself right on through.
Well, I'll tell you what, Grayson's on a bit of a mission here with the 05. He knows his opportunity tonight because, again, Dalton Kilroe not here. Grayson second in points. He's got a real opportunity to make some gains here, and he wants to get a win. White out front. Good to see him lead some laps here. Greaves in second. Mertez third. Hobbs is fourth. Taylor rounds out the top 5. Working lap 10 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The Miller Tech 300 battle for the lead heats up. Greaves to the top side. Grayson Greaves. Oh, my.
Oh, and Zach Murtis is blinking out again. We went to take his onboard, and he's just not there. There he is. Trying to get back into things. Problems, though, for the 02. As Greaves sinks down to the bottom side of Jourdain White, trying to get this race lead away. Not so fast. Look at it almost go 3. Goes Murtis, and White grabs the wall.
Murtis up to second now. White hobbled and caught a piece of the fence there. I'm surprised he was able to just keep going without losing more spots. That was actually pretty good. Hobbs back there in 4th. I think just kind of checked up and said, wait a minute, maybe I'll just sit back here and watch for a second until I can find a good line to run. Bryce Hobbs, very consistent racer in dirt go-karts, won a lot of races and had great success there.
You can tell these guys are wrestling the race trucks for sure. It's still early for sure, but maybe give these guys about 10, 20 laps to work these tires in. It might not be so bad. As here we go, battle for the race lead once again, turns 3 and 4. Zach Murtis just about clears the 05 as Hobbs grabs the wall. And that was almost a dead heat across the stripe for Greaves and Murtis.
Side by side battle for the lead. It's Mertes and Greaves in the 05. Greaves with a new paint scheme on the car this week. Usually it's a green machine. Tonight he's got an orange crate out there. Equally fast. White running in third, putting on a great show.
Side by side, a little farther back behind these guys for the 4th and 5th spots. Bryce Hobbs falling victim now to Cameron Taylor, maybe. They were starting to get racy. Taylor now falls back in that 5th spot. Winstone's there, Walker's there, Dyer's there. So it's like 3 and 5 right now as we still wait to see if Kyle Terzak will rejoin the racing course at any point in time. But
that's a shame. I wanted to see what Kyle would do.
He's really quick. He's really quick. We know him mostly from short tracks here at Pit Stop TV, but he has been a very impressive driver to watch. I'm honestly very shocked that he had that lapse or whatever happened at that caution that came out on lap 1, onto lap 2. But battle for second. Jordan White to the inside, at least momentarily, of Grayson Greaves. Falls back in line in turn 3. And we saw it at Las Vegas. We anticipate these guys going mostly green this evening and having to make some green flag pit stops. That's going to bring some challenges. Just like Las Vegas, it's difficult to pit here under green. It's definitely going to test these guys. And that means they've got to save their tires. They can't just go burn them up, run as fast as they want to, for 5-10 laps. They've got to make them last 40, 50, even 60.
Somebody needs to tell the top 3 that, because they're racing pretty hard early on in this event. But you're right. It is basically a game of management here. And we had just 3 cautions at Vegas last week. And so I don't expect any more than that here. So this is going to be should be a fairly green flag filled event. So it's going to be up to the drivers to do some management here, especially in these first couple of segments, first couple of runs. Mertes out front, set fast time. Greaves in second, White third, Hobbs in 4th. Price hasn't quite been the same since he caught the wall there. I'm not sure. Might have threw the handling of that truck off a little bit. He is a very consistent driver. He's not a driver that usually... He had an issue early at Daytona, but rebounded back, finished the top 5, had a good run at Vegas last week. Just, again, very consistent. Looking for that breakout race here.
There was a battle briefly between Winstone and Walker. That has since broken up as they enter turns 1 and 2. And it's single file back here in the final 5 spots. But up front, the top 3 staying racy. And they're staggering throughout the corners. And if you're maybe a novice or just haven't seen much of this kind of racing before, they're taking different lines throughout the corner because they're trying to find clean air. On a road course, there's generally one racing line that's the best. But on an oval, especially in these trucks that require so much aero precision, you've got to find that clean air. That makes all your downforce through the corner. That gives you grip, not just on the front of the truck, though, also on the side. You're trying to get that right side in the air just a little bit and try to get some lateral grip that way, as these guys are getting racy.
Very racy. It looked like Greaves for a few laps was just content to kind of ride a bit, but Jordan White is really pushing him to race harder, I think. White pretty aggressive in the opening laps, not in a bad way, but just racing really hard here, and fun to watch that. These leaders are getting after it the first 20 laps of this race. Greaves now looks like he might have the lead.
Through turns 3 and 4, yep, there you go, 05 to the race lead, and that big bobble off the corner, that is exactly what Mertes has been having in that clean air as well. I don't know if maybe taking the air off the nose actually helps these guys, but they are definitely on edge.
It's a bit of a different turn for these guys too, because this is the first night race that we've run. So a little bit of a different track condition and different situation for these racers. at least the ones that have run with us for the first few races. So Greaves having to make some adjustments here.
Daytona was run at night, but it was practically, I mean, it was wide open. It's Daytona, so that doesn't matter nearly as much for being under the lights. But yes, Las Vegas being during the day, it was much warmer for these guys. They were much, it was still slip slidey around that race, but I mean, I'll be honest, even testing myself, getting screenshots here, screenshots, whatever, I've noticed myself exactly what Zach Curtis was saying. This truck is snappy loose here at Charlotte. I don't know if it's the iRacing Fish setup that does it, if maybe it's the reprofiling to their aero model for this truck, but something has made it a lot more free, and I'm okay with that. It makes it a lot of fun to drive.
I agree.
Requires a lot more, I think, thinking each lap. And ideally, that means you get better racing as a result, a little more off-throttle time as well. Shake things up a little bit. That's a good thing overall, but it definitely catches you off guard. I think most people, most sim racers at least, have been lulled into just keeping the throttle down in these trucks most everywhere you go. That's not the case here. As Windstone goes on by, Hobbs got the wall, and he is falling back.
Yeah, he is falling back. He was racing pretty hard there with Taylor, but once Taylor cleared him, Windstone took full advantage, and now the 35 of Sam Dyer is in the mix. Again, there's been racing all the way through the field here in the first 25 laps of this race. 17 of Walker back there as well.
And this just goes to show even last place right now, 8th currently on the racetrack, has a race to watch and or be a part of. I mean, he is right with these guys. He's not been left behind. He's managing the draft, just trying to keep up and maybe go by this Bryce Hobbs machine in a moment, change things up to the 7th and 8th positions, but we are getting racy again for the race lead. Here you go, side by side across the line, Greaves and Murtis once again.
These two have been trading the lead, trading just a little bit of pain every once in a while, too. Mertez in the 02 truck and Greaves in the 05. Greaves a little bit on the loose side there. They're racing each other really hard. Meanwhile, White's fallen back a little bit, but he's still within striking distance, and he's probably safer right where he is for the moment.
And we're inside of 100 to go now for the race as a whole. These guys have turned about, 25 to 30 laps on this tank of fuel and tires. I don't recall the exact fuel number at Las Vegas last week, but I'm going to guess these guys can go at least 50 to 60. I mean, obviously, if you want to do this in one stop, you got to go to about lap 62. I don't think that's quite within the realm of possibility, so that gives you some freedom. And I think I recall someone saying last week they tried to split it evenly. That'd be about 40, 40, 40, so 42-ish, I guess.
83 of White bounced off the wall again. But he's got a Timex truck. Takes a licking and just keeps on ticking. Crazy. Wow.
A big switch up there. Attic to basement down the backstretch.
Wow.
Gets to the inside here of Grayson Greaves into turn number 3. Points that Toyota down, but he's washing up. Oh, that was close off the corner.
Man, oh man. I started to say I think we started seeing pit stops in the early 40s last week at Vegas, but who knows what it'll be today.
Which that tracks. I recall the 42 number pretty specifically in that race, so that's what these guys I think will aim for once again, and that puts pit stops about 10 to 15 laps away. I think there's some room to undercut if you want, at least in this opening run. There's also room with the caution that came out to save some gas and go a little farther.
Mertez still out front. He's got 2 behind him, side by side for second. Greaves and White. Boy, I am really impressed with how hard these guys are racing. This is fun to watch, these three go at it. We've got the next 3 right in line behind him that are all within striking distance as well. Taylor, Windstone, and Dyer Hobbs, Sheriff Walker, and then Turzak, in the 15.
Well, here's what this race is proving. And it isn't always true, but you don't always need a big field to have a good race. We've got 3 in this group, and usually that's all it takes is 2 cars to have a good race, right? But I think a lot of iRacing leagues, I mean, certainly you want bigger numbers. You want to go at least, 20, 30, if you can. But that's not to say you can't have a good race at 8 trucks. We've got 2 of them happening right now. The top 3 here. The next 3 are starting to fight. Taylor, Winstone, and Dyer, there they are. All taking different lines through turns 1 and 2. So 2 really good fights, and then even a couple of guys that are starting to fight over last position, Bryce Hobbs and Sheriff Walker. This racetrack is very lively right now, very exciting. Gonna be a fun final 90 laps. As here we go, side by side, Chris Winstone, Cameron Taylor.
I'm impressed with Winstone. Up in the top 5, and he is racing pretty hard. Again, limited oval track experience. Every time I watch him race in one of our events, he gets better. And, he kind of got taken out last week, but, or otherwise, I think he had a solid top 5 run going. And so, I think he's got a good shot at least a 5th place finish here tonight, and maybe more depending on how the rest of this race goes. But very impressed with him, and it's good to see Sam Dyer racing with us. We appreciate him jumping in and coming to Charlotte. He's right now 5th, Winstone 6th, and then Hobbs back there 7th. And that Fallen Outdoors number 6 of Taylor right now up ahead, running in 4th.
And so Chris Winstone, of course, I've at least mentioned many times. He runs in the North American Racing League GT3 Series on Thursdays here on Pits.tv. Also helps in the broadcast side for the amateur division of that same league. He also made his first start in the All-American Racing Network this past Sunday morning at Watkins Glen. That was in NASCAR Cup cars, and he had a great time. I mean, he led a bunch of laps in that race, was very, very competitive. And here comes Bryce Hobbs back into this mix, which means Sheriff Walker's not far back, but Sam Dyer runs over in the BRB Sundance Pro Series that I've name-dropped a few times, along with Jordan White, along with Cameron Taylor, who he's racing against now. So there are some guys who, they might not know a handful of drivers in this race still, because there are a few guys that are Steering Wheel Nation true, but they've got a little chemistry. They know each other a little bit better. They've seen each other on the racetrack a few more times at the very least.
An interesting mix. I love seeing new drivers, and I was about to say experienced drivers that are regulars in the series. I love seeing new drivers come in. It's always interesting, shakes things up a little bit. Really has tonight, because White, in his first run with us, right now running in 2nd. Behind your leader, Mertes. Greaves sitting there 3rd. Greaves is 2nd in our standings right now, and he wants to make sure he finishes this race. He wants to be around at the end to challenge for the win, because he knows he's got an opportunity here to make up some valuable ground on Dalton Kilroe, who won our first 2 races but is not here tonight. Meanwhile, Hobbs has worked his way back up to 4th. Good to see Bryce back in this. Fell back to 7th and now has made his way back up to 4th.
And by the way, we have received a question in YouTube chat. Should we get a chance to interview driver 17 tonight, we need to ask Sheriff Walker if he's also a Texas Ranger.
Well, that would be a fun combination, being a sheriff and a Texas Ranger at the same time.
Look, man, the idea came from Caden Henry Oaks in the YouTube chat. Contact for the race lead, though. Jordan White just muscled his mentor, Zach Murtis, out of the way. And here comes Greaves now to take over.
Wow, the Jamaican Jet, Jordan White, has just taken the lead. And Greaves is up to 2nd. Mertes 3rd.
Not so fast.
Whoa.
Here comes Greaves now on the outside as Murtis got back to his inside. And there we go. Greaves backs out into turn 1. Murtis takes a swipe there at the 83. Couldn't quite get to him. And here they go down the backstretch.
We're on lap 41, so it'll be interesting to see how far these guys go before we see a pit stop.
Oh, Murtis took some air off the spoiler there of the 83. Thought maybe he was going for a bump and run in turns 3 and 4. They both get the wall. Greaves has to check up. And something tells me these two might want to grab themselves a fast fix when they hit the pit lane.
Boy, well, you see, man, they are still running good laps out there. Top 3, bumper to bumper. Jourdain White, your leader, Mertez, feeds down to the bottom. The Zach attack. Zach Mertez in the 0-2.
No tankers there on the pit lane. That's going to become a little more common of a camera to see the next handful of laps as we await these drivers' first trip for 4 new Goodyear tires and a brand new tank of virtual Sunoco race fuel.
You wonder who's kind of waiting out who here. If anybody's kind of got the idea that I want to be the last one in, last one out, or I want to be the first one in. This is interesting.
Cameron Taylor.
There we go.
Cameron Taylor going to hit the pits. A very slow approach to the pit lane, but he does make it in. And we'll see what driver number 6 can do. He recently joined the BRB Sundance Pro Series on Tuesdays. He's a rookie over there. We don't know a whole lot about him, but he's got that win under his belt now from Mexico City this past week. That does a number for confidence sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Got his Dodge Ram on pit road here, the first of the field to pit. We'll see how that works out for him.
Down and away at 4 tires and fuel. He'll get back at it. We need to watch Cameron Taylor these next handful of laps, especially as the leaders keep going. Their lap times have come down from being about 30.76 at the beginning of the run to 32.27s in the case of Jourdain White. That is a 1.5 second drop off. That's a big difference, honestly, for trucks. I don't recall the difference beginning to end of a run being quite that large. That is a big difference. I wonder if these guys even realize that. I mean, they're dropping, in some cases, 2 seconds. Bryce Hobbs' last lap was 1.9 seconds slower than his fastest lap.
Wow. Yeah, Bryce has fallen back to 6th again. And that's why I say you wonder with some of these drivers how long. And I also will wait to see if we see 2 or 3 drivers work together here. The top 3 running right together. It'll be interesting to see if they all pit together. White out front, Mertez second, Greaves in third, and that's about how close it's been virtually the entire race. The top 3 pushing each other pretty hard here. Winstone back there in 4th, doing a great job. Sam Dyer 5th. And then Hobbs in 6th, Walker in 7th, Taylor's 8th, but he's made his pit stop. And now Mertez. And White going at it for the lead. Greaves watching very closely from 3rd place. 48 laps down, Andrew. I am really, really surprised we haven't seen more pit stops.
Tell you what, Grayson nearly got the wall there in 1 and 2, and Jourdain White not looking like he's going to pit anytime soon. He goes for the slide job there in 3 and 4. Crossover attempt from the 0-2 of Murtis. They'll be a side-by-side across the stripe again at the line. Bryce Hobbs pitted last lap. Sheriff Walker coming in this time. So pit stops are starting to light up, but the leaders, they've got no worries at all. They just keep on trucking.
Side by side for the lead, Mertez and White in the 83.
And
Greaves.
Still no takers here from the top 3. Anybody else? Sam Dyer maybe? No.
Wow.
And Sheriff Walker got into his box late, it looks like. Very cattywampus might be the word there.
How do you spell that?
Cattywampus.
There we go. Good job. I'll take your word for it, Andrew. Top three still together. I am really amazed they've gone 2 laps. Here we go.
To the pit lane. He missed it. He missed it.
It almost got the wall. Oh, boy.
Jordan White tried to pit, wasn't going to make it on speed. Now Chris Winstone heads down the pit lane. He'll come in for service at lap 51. I can't imagine, Meredith and Greaves and even White, I certainly can't imagine they can go the distance to make this a one-stop race. They'd have to go probably to 65 to make sure they've got insurance for the second run, and yeah, here we go, pit stop.
Greaves is, they're both coming. Okay, so now this becomes... So those two pitted together, and is that White? It is.
By the way, Cameron Taylor's last lap, a 30.991 versus Sam Dyer's last lap, a 32.922. That's a big difference between new and old tires. So here we go into the pit lane for the top three. Dyer has continued on at least one more lap. And Jordan White missed his box completely. He is going to lose a bunch more time as Dyer just continues on. There's no way he hits long enough in this race to make it a one-stop race.
He's going to give it a good try. That's for sure. It looks like it. I can't imagine.
Look at this. Cameron Taylor has absolutely gapped Zach Murtis, Grayson Greaves, and everybody else. So there's Murtis coming onto the backstretch now. Taylor's in turn 3. There goes Hobbs. That shows you just how important new tires are going to be tonight. Now, obviously, the goal for the leaders who stayed out longer is that they will run these guys back down. But without the draft, and while racing one another, I just don't know how guaranteed that is. Certainly, their math hopes for it to work out. But I don't know. Taylor's got quite some time on, we're talking 5-6 seconds on Murtis and Greaves alone. And here comes Dyer.
Think groups. Here comes the 35 of Dyer for his stop on lap 54. So we've still got 70 laps left in the race. Greaves, the new fast lap, 30.469.
And so these guys still need to pass Sam Dyer for this cycle to effectively complete. But you see Hobbs up the road of Zach Murtis, so this is going to be second, third, and fourth. These guys are still 4 seconds behind Cameron Taylor. They are starting to catch up a little bit, I will say. As Murtis now goes fast, it's a 30.454 to Taylor's 31.123.
Hobbs running in second right now. Cortez and Greaves third and fourth.
Oh! That was close off of turn 4. Murtis back in some air on the back end of the 88. Got him free through turns 3 and 4. He hung on. Greaves now follows the 0-2. And they will quickly dispatch of Bryce Hobbs, it looks like. Also, in this pit cycle, Jordan White has dropped all the way to 8th. So from battling for the lead to now running 8th, 13 seconds behind Cameron Taylor, the current race leader. That is a fall-off of epic proportions.
If you're Jordan White, what kind of strategy are you looking at to try and make up for lost time here? How do you get yourself out of this hole in a race that likely could possibly go green all the way from here?
There's a couple of things he can hope for. He can certainly do like he just did, right? And run just until the tank is dry and just simply hope for a caution when others pit a little bit earlier and hope that he comes out in the top half to gain some track position that way. And really a caution at any time would help him in a field this tight. Or he can undercut like we just saw Cameron Taylor doing. Clearly that's a great short-term advantage, but as we're starting to see on the timing chart there on the left side of your screen, that time is coming down. Murtis is catching Taylor as the laps go by, so it's a very short-term gain, long-term loss.
Not great. Tough few minutes for Jordan White after such a great early run. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. Taylor's still leading. And as you said, Mertez is closing down to about 1.5 or so seconds. Reeves in third, Hobbs fourth, Winstone fifth. Sheriff Walker is sixth right now. And, you know, you look at the best lap, and it's Mertez has the best lap by 0.003 of a second. And then it drops off actually 0.003 of a second to Taylor and Hobbs. So
the big part right here is the last lap. 0.6 difference between Taylor and Mertez that last lap. Mertez now within a second of Cameron Taylor. Greaves actually a slight bit faster than Mertez that time around, but Hobbs at 31.316, he's falling off as well. Not quite as badly currently as Cameron Taylor. That'd be because Hobbs pitted about 4 laps later.
Yeah.
But here we go. These guys have caught Cameron Taylor for the race lead. And again, that undercut, it's a short-term gain. If we had gotten a caution in that time, it easily could have helped him. But here comes Zach Mertez to bear down on truck number 6.
Well, and Greaves coming with him. And again, you'd think now we're probably going to about 85 to 90, somewhere in there.
Whoa, Greaves went high there.
Was,
they tried to split Taylor 3 wide.
That was risky, and that's what you don't want to do at this point in the race.
Yeah, I think that was certainly low percentage, and maybe just not pacing yourself. I actually, we're in a green flag look, and grabs the wall there. I want to get a replay of that.
We watch Greaves on the outside here. Tries to take it 3 wide. Well,
and so I'm going to be a little bit critical of the move from the 0-5, not because he can't do it, not because he did anything wrong. Technically, by the book, he did nothing wrong. He had a run, he took it. There was space.
Yeah.
But in self-preservation terms, on lap 60-ish of a 100, I mean, you're halfway. That's low percentage. That's a chance you don't need to take halfway into a race when you are the class of the field along with one other. I mean, you guys can just keep running your laps, get yourselves the advantage, and then make some crazy moves like that in about 50 more laps. That was just kind of too soon from the 0-5. Again, later on, maybe even the final run, maybe that'd be a little more okay. But you saw how it very nearly ended in catastrophe for all 3 of those drivers.
It did. Well, and then Grayson caught the wall afterward. But that's something we haven't seen from Grayson the first couple of races. He's been virtually mistake-free and a little aggressive that time. But he got away with it. He's still in second and still seems to be running just fine. Taylor back to third, as you might expect. He pitted considerably before these 2 trucks pitted. Winstone running in fourth, Hobbs in fifth. And it's Dyer, Walker, White, and Terzak there. We're just in lap 66, so still a lot of racing left to do here.
It's interesting, Greaves is using more of the outside lane this run, and obviously they've got 1 fewer truck to mix around with. It's really just these 2, and at this point they can kind of ride, but it is interesting how Grayson is moving up the racetrack this run, and Zach is still kind of lower down. He's trying to use the bottom to middle a little more. I've heard very conflicting reports in my time on the sim of what truly saves Tyra the best. Again, these guys don't really need to worry about it too much in their kind of satellite battle out front here, but eventually they're going to want to run a line that can serve some tire for later in this race, assuming this thing goes green to the end from here, as there's a switch up for third position. This puts Chris Winstone in third for the moment, still side by side, still racing for it.
Winstone doing a nice job of that 37 on the bottom now, racing with the 6 of Taylor. Taylor inches back ahead. Winstone in the 37 again. I don't think you want to be side by side for too long like this. You're burning up tires. You either make the pass or fall back. But boy, Winstone just has really adapted to the ovals, and you can just see him almost every lap getting better and better. Real close to a little bit of contact. Robbins racing, right?
Well, and I think that's actually something that Chris is still having to learn.
Yeah.
You know, in that race he did on Sunday at Watkins Glen, he was very, very easy on everybody he encountered, and he kind of had some Ryan Newman learning sessions on how to pass that day as well, where there was one driver that was maybe a little bit slower than Chris, but had track position and made life very difficult for Winstone through that race to get by him. And that, I think, effectively is, well, ultimately is why Chris didn't win that race. He's trying to learn the more aggressive, more body contact side of racing that is only as common in stock cars. You just simply don't see it over in GT racing. So that is, I think, the thing that he's still learning, as there's a lot of it happening right behind him with Sam Dyer, Bryce Hobbs, and even Cameron Taylor.
Yeah, and again, racing all the way through the field. Hobbs got another little piece of the wall there on that last lap, but again, seems to be fine. Right back there in 7. We get a look from inside. Bryce Hobbs, race car, the big dog. Known Bryce for a while from go-karts and watching him run some of the biggest indoor dirt kart racing events in the country. And he's never been one to be afraid to take a chance, but he also usually is very controlled. A lot of these trucks, we've seen almost every one of these trucks bounce off the wall at one point or another tonight, and some of them multiple times.
And there's been a lead change.
Oh boy.
Racing Greaves got back ahead of Zach Murtis for now as they get back side by side rather across the stripe here. It's like they can't just let us look at the midfield.
No. They want to be in the show, and they're doing a good job of it too right now. The O2 of Murtis. This is his home track. Wants to run well here. He's out front. Greaves in second.
You know, it wouldn't be his home track if we could finally get Wake County on this iRacing service. That'd be nice. That's a short track that certainly would be. It would be difficult to race on iRacing, but it'd be so rewarding with the right field, the right cars, all of it. To have a good race at Wake County, I think would be really, really fantastic. Honestly, I'd like to see trucks there. Maybe not a full field of 32 or 36, but
oh my goodness.
You know what?
This trucks on lap 2.
This field at Wake County would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be actually. Yeah, a nice size, about 9 to 12 it's a quarter mile.
You know, I thought about suggesting us to just go to the Legends Oval this evening.
Yeah, there you go.
But I thought that might be a little bit of an unfair advantage for Zach.
Yeah, we're on the quarter mile. I said the 10th mile, the quarter mile. But
we need the 5th mile on iRacing.
Zach, the 3rd though. Last time Zach was on the quarter mile didn't end too well.
Oh no!
And there goes Winstone off the bumper of the 35 of Dyer.
Big hit for Chris Winstone. Thankfully, he's got a fast repair to fall back on, but this changes everything. This might make it good from here on fuel, and it saves Jordan White.
It does. That's a great point. Jordan White needed this. Dyer to the inside. Well, it looked like maybe Chris came across the nose a little bit. It was just Kenny Schrader's infamous phrase, arguing over space there.
Let's see this from the turn 3 perspective. Sam, I believe, comes up the racetrack. Winstone stays up. Sam comes up. I mean, right as Winstone came down. a much smaller margin, I'd say. I feel like Sam definitely went up a lot more than Chris came down.
You can see it better in that angle. You're right. That's exactly what happened. Certainly didn't look intentional. Just
no, it's just an attempt to get on the left rear quarter panel and side draft. And you know, we talk about these trucks being super aero sensitive, super aero dependent, and what that means is basically these guys need to micromanage every bit of the air flowing across the race trucks. In this case, I think Dyer was trying to get up and side draft the 37 that would put air off the nose of his truck on the spoiler of Winstone's truck, and I'm just glad with that kind of hit that this is a simulator. That was a really, really bad spot to hit.
Yeah, it was. Winstone definitely, I think right at the end of this, as Dyer's moving up the track, you see Winstone just come down just a little bit.
Just barely, but just enough.
Yeah, just enough. I mean, it just becomes, it's just a racing deal. There was nothing, no evil intent and nothing blatant there.
Definitely.
He took up a lot of space there.
And definitely a big Murtis mega miss, actually, for Cameron Taylor. Let's break out this graphic for the first time tonight. You can join the Murtis Esports team there at the Discord link at the bottom of this graphic, and it's at least the biggest Murtis mega miss we've seen tonight. Maybe not the closest of misses we've ever seen, but it's up there at least. On the board for the evening.
For sure.
And everybody has come in and taken tires and fuel back on the racetrack now, the 8 remaining. This will put Murtis back ahead of Greaves, then Taylor, Hobbs. That's your top 4. Followed by Winstone and Walker, White and Dyer. And so in the position here of Jourdain White, the Jamaican sensation, the Jamaican Jet, as you said earlier, or the Jourdain Train, he's in an interesting spot. Yeah, he's got more nicknames than a lot of guys have race wins.
He's he actually is in an interesting spot. The key is, though, this, as you said just after the caution, this really saved his race because now he's back on even footing again. So we'll see. This is a whole different race now because as we get close to lap 80, so 65 or so laps to go, this now everybody's on fresh tires, so you probably are gonna have to make, I would think, one more pit stop for sure. And so now I think you start to see who's willing to race hard and who's willing to just be patient enough and try and save it to the end. I think Jourdain White will be fun to watch coming from the back of the field here.
Well, here we go to the restart zone to get this one restarted. Lap 79 on the way. Green flag back in the air. Zach Murtis back on the loud pedal.
Keep your eye on Greaves. On the top line here, Grayson Greaves really wants to win this race. Murtis has been fast all the way through, and he'll get the advantage on the restart. And wow, throws a pretty aggressive block there as we got Taylor at the 6. Racing for second now with Greaves. Chris Taylor wants to go race.
Murtis got loose, and the wall goes Greaves. They're all going to stack up down the front stretch. Full wide. White bails out to the grass. One in the wall is Walker. My goodness. Side by side for the race lead. It is the 0-2 and the 6.
I don't know if Jourdain White did that on purpose, but if he did, it was the smartest move he could have possibly ever made. And he's right back in it, and now we've got Murtis back out front. Greaves still in second, but look, we've got Taylor, Hobbs, and White all right there. This is...
What a round!
Oh, somebody broke loose.
Thankfully, he missed the wall. From the perspective that we had on the back end of Zach Murtis' truck, I was very, very concerned that Cameron Taylor was on a speed dating website with the pit attenuator here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's see this. Just loose through the corner, bobbled there, and got a tap from White.
Yep.
Oh, man, just taking the chicane. No worries. It's the Joker lap.
That's a nice piece of driving for Taylor to save it. Brings out our third caution.
Underneath Hobbs here, third spot. The rear end just starts to step out on him, and Jourdain just gives him a tap. He goes sliding. Really solid catch, honestly.
It really was. It was a nice piece of driving.
From his onboard,
Well, this should be fun.
to see it come around. Here comes the shot from White. Back to the hands, sideways. Just brought it right back over.
Yeah, you know, if you're Jourdain White, there's nothing he can do.
No.
You know, but that had to be a bit of a start for him too, because again, he's just recovered his track position, and then I mean, no place to go there.
And for
Nice
it
piece
to
of
be
driving, actually, to keep that car going.
for it to be the driver that he had some controversy with on Tuesday night, I mean, that was only a few days ago. And I mean, you know this, race car drivers, they remember a lot, even if they're sim race car drivers.
Oh, yes.
They log that stuff for a long time. So it's just it's coincidence. Obviously, Jourdain and Cameron were just running their own races there, and thankfully we've seen plenty of examples already tonight of them putting it just behind themselves, and that's good. When you have that kind of incident for drivers, just kind of move on and forget about it, move on to the next. That's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's fun for us to talk about, but
It is. It's
because that's what we do, right? It's a storyline, but.
And I think that's what a lot of people forget. I mean, a lot of folks, they think, why are you talking about all the crazy stuff that happens or the unsavory stuff sometimes, like a bump and run for a win? Frankly, that's excitement. That's drama. That is half of... I mean, that's doing half of our jobs, frankly. If a driver gives us a moment like that at the end of the race, that is setting us up in the best of ways.
Exactly.
That's just how it goes. But we're quickly approaching 40 laps to go. I think we'll have 41 at the drop of the green. Interestingly, most of the field stays out. That'll be Murtis, Greaves, Hobbs, White, and Dyer, while Winstone, Taylor, and Walker pitted. Now, of those drivers, only Taylor seems to have taken tires. Dyer and Walker... So Dyer stayed out, Winstone pitted, but Dyer, Taylor, and Walker, they stayed out. Only Taylor took tires. Also, Sheriff Walker has confirmed that, unfortunately, he is not a Texas Ranger.
Well, again, it was a good story to tell. It was fun for a while. Being a sheriff is probably time-consuming enough, I would imagine.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's got to have its own stress category, I'm sure. But here we go. We'll have 41 laps to go for Zach Murtis and for Grayson Greaves. Of course, we are starting to think about those nominations for the North American Racing League Driver of the Day. I've already got a couple in mind here, Tom. I can tell you one of them is in yellow. Here we go. Restart zone on the way. ThatRacing.com safety car back to the relative safety of pit lane. Greaves warming his tires one more time. Green flag, 41 to go in the Miller Tech 300K.
Murtis in the 02 and Greaves in the 05. Hobbs in the 88 is lurking. I've watched Bryce Hobbs race a lot of years. I think Bryce feels like he's in this, and that could be fun to watch. And look who's right there in fourth. It's Jourdain White. This is anybody's race, I feel like, right now. Murtis out front, and look at White run the wall. That's the Kyle Larson line up there.
Greaves and Murtis were getting very aggressive on that restart. I think more so Greaves over Murtis. But here we go, back up to third spot. Jordan White has reassumed his position in position number 3. That's ahead of Bryce Hobbs, Sam Dyer, Cameron Taylor, and Chris Winstone. Sheriff Walker kind of tagging on to the back end of things. He's not out of this. Look at that big miss there in the bottom lane for Chris Winstone. Suddenly it's a battle for 7th.
Yeah, and I was about to say that I don't know who has passed more trucks in the first couple races than Chris Winstone. He's passed his way from back to front a number of times, and he may do it again here, but he's got a ways to go. But he is just, it's just fun to watch somebody just get better and better and better as they go at something, and that's what we're seeing with Winstone these last few weeks. Meanwhile, we got a battle with Taylor and Dyer. That's for P5. Let's drop top 35 of Dyer on the bottom, and Grizzly number 6, that's the Dodge Ram, on the top, and Taylor for the moment is going to take the spot. Dyer back to 6th. Here comes Winstone. Meanwhile, up front, Hobbs.
Yeah, Jordan White trying to track these leaders down, and Hobbs trying to tag on to the back end of the Jordan train. But at the engine side of things, it's the 02 and the 05. Greaves kind of waiting for an opportunity maybe to strike back at the 02. I mentioned on the restart, it seemed like, you see again, Greaves taking a look there to the inside. It seems like Grayson was pretty willing to hit Zach's door just a little bit there, rough him up a little bit, and I like seeing that. That means the guy is not afraid to just lean on someone a little bit. And here we go, side by side for the race lead, a little more leaning into the corner.
I was going to say, I think that was more than a little bit, Andrew. And it was enough that the 83 of Jordan White is going to come up to second, and Murders may lose third. Hobbs to the inside.
Could be 4th here before the end of the lap, maybe, as Hobbs is there, Taylor's there, 5 trucks now at the front as Greaves gets loose. Wow. White has an opportunity. They scatter. And Murtis is back to second, passing the grass from Zach Murtis.
Oh my goodness, the Zach attack is strong tonight. The 02. Wow. And he's back out front. And, you know,
that was an actual pass in the grass.
This has got to be very frustrating for Grayson Greaves at this point, because he has thrown everything, including a kitchen sink, at Zach Murtis. And just rooted him up a little bit and took the lead, and all of a sudden now he's back to 4th. We're 90 laps, 91 now into this, 33 laps left, and if Grayson Greaves is going to win this race, he needs to take a nice deep breath and get back in his groove. Murta's out front. Here comes the big dog, Bryce Hobbs, up to second, the raciest race he's run yet in our series this year, and White not letting him go anywhere here.
This run looks so vastly different from what we saw earlier on. Everybody in a line here. Murtis is starting to get away slightly, but White, Hobbs, Greaves, Taylor, Winstone, Dyer, all in a line. Here's a move from Greaves down to the inside of the 88.
Grayson Greaves has been fun to watch. He painted his truck orange, and boy, it turned up the aggression button by about 6 notches tonight. Greaves in the 05 to the inside of Bryce Hobbs in the 88. That's a battle for third. Murders and White love seeing that, because that's advantage to both of them. They'll just drive away if they stay side by side for too long. Oh, and here comes Taylor into the battle now. 3 cars. 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Andrew. This has been a blast to watch these guys battle back and forth. Everybody at this point seems to be throwing caution to the wind here, as we are now down to 30 laps to go.
It'll be 30 to go the next time by. You're riding on board with Cameron Taylor. Sam Dyer is not far back. And Greaves just, I mean, there is no give up in that kid. He keeps fighting back, lap after lap. Hobbs loose off of 4. That's an opportunity maybe for the 0-5 to pull around. He's certainly looking.
Impressed with Bryce Hobbs. He has finally put together a good race, solid race here. And he is in third place and holding back two guys that have been very aggressive the entire event. Bryce doing a nice job in that 88. Meanwhile, we got a battle for the lead. Here is Jourdain White. Here comes the Jourdain train to the bottom and looking for the top spot.
Literal inches separating these two across the stripe that time by Jourdain White. Clear of the 0-2. Zach Murtis, a shot maybe there down the back straightaway. And Murtis pulls to the left rear of Jourdain White. They'll swap lanes into turns 3 and 4.
You know who's smiling right now? Bryce Hobbs. Keep battling, guys. I'm coming. Hobbs in the 88 is right in the thick of this as we get inside of the last 30 laps here.
Zach Murtis gives up that lead spot, falls into second. Bryce Hobbs hits his bumper into turn 3, brings Taylor along with, and Hobbs is going to fight to the outside of Murtis here off of 4. Maybe. Windstone was sideways in the background. Anything can still happen with this field. The entirety of it.
Absolutely.
You see Hobbs drifting there through 1 and 2 just a little bit.
You don't want to make that mistake too many times because he needs track position here. Fortunately, the guy behind him is very willing to probably push him if he has to. Grayson Greaves in the 05. He's coming. And you got Dyer there, the 35 as well, and Windstone now. Oh, man, Andrew.
And the leaders, too. I mean, these are two sensational battles currently. Greaves now caught smack in the middle of this group as here we go for the lead. Zach Murtis back to the inside of Jourdain White. You see the mess behind. But for the top spot, here comes driver 02. He's going to point that truck right back down to that white and blue line. He's got the lead for the moment. How is it going to be to the stripe, though? He's clear.
For now, White's not going to let him get away, and the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place trucks are coming. And we are at lap 100 this race. Brought to you by Miller Tech. If you need a battery for your RV, your boat, or your golf cart, or if you're just into the off-grid lifestyle, 10-year no-hassle warranty. Oh, and Jourdain White almost needed more than a battery there. Miller Tech, Lithium Batteries and Amish-owned company. MillerTechEnergy.com is the website. Go check them out. Use code NASCAR10, get 10% off.
Murtis gave a shot to White. He caught it.
Wow.
White then gave a door to Taylor.
7 trucks in contention. Miller Tech, Steering Wheel Nation, Inside Group, Pit Pass, Martin PC, all coming together to bring you this super exciting SWN Truck Series race, 3rd race in our 13-race series. Next race, Nashville in June.
That'll be an exciting one, too. That's always an exciting racetrack here on iRacing.
It is, and if these guys are all in it and we get a few of our regulars back, look out. This could be really incredible. But hey, we've still got 22 laps of this one, and it's anybody's race right now. Murtis is out front. White in 2nd, Hobbs 3rd, Taylor, Greaves, Dyer, Windstone 4th through 7th. Dyer to the inside for P6.
I gotta say, Tom, I think this is the longest that Grayson Greaves has not been in the top half of the field all race long. I know he's been as low as last there at the very start, but I don't think he's been lower than 4th this long, except for this little stretch. So he's trying to get back around Taylor and Hobbs if he can. That would put him back in 3rd. He's got Windstone in his tire tracks and going to take the outside line again here through 1 and 2. We're hitting 20 to go this next time by the flag stand. Time is ticking. These guys that were also on quite old tires at this point, they're about halfway, a little more than halfway through a tire run. We've only seen them go about 45-ish laps. They're set to go about 47. Granted, there was a caution in there.
And 19 laps left to go. I mean, you kind of got what you got, I feel like, unless there's a caution. So this is going to be fun to watch here because everybody's going to be running on old tires at this point. Mertez out front, White right there second. Taylor's run a great race in third. Hobbs, his best run of the year so far, running in fourth. He's a super nice young man, comes from a great family. Greaves in fifth in the 05. Still in this. Windstone and Dyer as well, 6th and 7th.
Battle for second. And Jordan White going to lose that second spot. He gave a door to Cameron Taylor recently, but Taylor gets right back on by for that second position here on lap 106. Hobbs now working on the back bumper of that Toyota Tundra.
Interesting how in the last few laps everybody's kind of calmed down a little bit,
isn't it?
And it after so much wild racing, all of a sudden we see this single file formation, and you got to wonder how long before people start making moves again.
And really just one truck of these 8 is off the pace. That's Sheriff Walker about 6 seconds back of these guys. He might be putting in maybe a little bit too much wheel and burning that right front off. That's really all I can think of as to why he's lost so much time. Windstone free off of turn 2. It'll be 16 to go this time by the flag stand. And you're watching some of the static speed shots around the racetrack that I know Zach likes so much. Really gives you a sense of just how fast these guys truly are going, and they are carrying a good bit of speed. I mean, 175 into turn 1, for example.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm looking at here is, look at, for example, okay, you've got the top 3, then you've got a pack of 4 now, and nobody's out of this at this point, even though we're well inside of 20 to go. I would say nobody's out of this yet, because at any point I feel like somebody gets desperate and makes a mistake, and that's all it's going to take. But if they keep running single file like this, I feel like this is advantage Mertes, because they're just going to spread out. And so this is going to be, these next few laps I think are going to tell us a lot.
Roles reversed now between Dyer and Windstone.
Windstone to the inside. Oof.
This is effectively the caboose of the train. And all the praises we've been singing about Truck 37, he now looks like he's just met his match versus the typical oval racers. I think all 6 of these guys ahead of him are very seasoned on the oval side. And
I was about to say.
Their I ratings certainly support that. So,
yeah,
I mean, Zach Burtis blowing these guys out of the water, nearly 5,700. Then it drops to about 2,100 for Taylor, about 2,400 for White, about 2,500 for Hobbs, about 2,600 for Greaves, and about 2,000 on the dot nearly for Sam Dyer. That's still quite a ways ahead of Chris Windstone's 1397 oval I rating, which essentially is a speed rating, and you want that to be highest. Famously, Ty Majeski is one of the only drivers on the oval side to go over 10,000. I believe he was the first to do it. There's a few more now. I mean, Joel Smith, who runs Legends, he's been up over 10, 11,000 for a while now. As here we go. Battle for the second spot. It is Taylor and White once again with 12 laps to go.
Here again, you don't want to stay side by side too long. Mertes will get away. If you're going to make the pass, you got to make it. White to the inside. And he looks like he...
Wow!
Oh, is that pretty clear?
Clear enough.
but he got it. So Jourdain White up to second now. Let's see what he can do with your leader, Zach Mertes.
I think the saying, technically, Tom, is clear with contact.
Yeah. Yeah.
The top three now getting after it, and they have swapped out Greaves for Taylor at this stage of the race. They're also approaching lap traffic in the form of Sheriff Walker, who has made it to the pit lane in the last couple of laps. He should be able to drive back away from them, but at the moment, they are approaching the 17 truck, although it looks like he may have just taken fuel. No tires for the 17, if that time is accurate, but he might have hit the pit lane an extra time in there somewhere. So, 10 laps to go, that time across the stripe. I think we've waited about long enough here, Tom. Who you got? Driver of the day.
Oh, boy. I feel like this is a tough call. Zach Mertes obviously has had a brilliant race, but I think Jourdain White has done a tremendous job in the 83, and I'm going to vote for Jourdain White for driver of the day.
We each get 2 nominations, so do you want to go for the double, the top 2?
Yeah, we'll take Mertes and White.
So we'll get them both nominated here on the YouTube side of things. There you see the 0-2 of Zach Mertes with his stat line for the evening. And then Jourdain White, who runs in second place. And Mertes was definitely going to be on my card, if not yours, as here comes White to the inside. Contact!
Oh!
What a catch, though, out of Zach Mertes. Could that be the winning pass, though, as we're inside of 10 to go? I'm going to grab Cameron Taylor. You can tell he's signed in with one of the relatively default paint schemes, and he's finally our first Ram driver of the season. So props to Taylor for even being here and being in that truck. I'm also going to go ahead and grab Sam Dyer. When we see him over in BRB on Tuesdays, he typically kind of starts the race in the pit lane, likes to lay back on restarts, and not to get an advantage or anything and to pass these guys unfairly, but just kind of to ride around and just suddenly be there at the end, and that's what he's doing. He's top 5, looking for 4th, maybe with a battle in his rear view. He's been very quiet tonight. He's got a few laps led. He's just running a quiet race as these guys make headlines out in the race lead.
And speaking of drivers who have run great races, I could have just as easily put Bryce Hobbs the driver of the day.
That's fair.
Pool 2. Again, best race we've seen him drive yet this year, and he's sitting there in 4th. So that just shows you what kind of a race this has been, that we've got 5, maybe even 6 drivers that are good nominees for driver of the day. But out front, it is the Jourdain train, Jourdain White. Holy cow. After all of this and falling back the way he did in the middle of the race, and then we have a caution and he gets a second win. And look what he's done with it. Taylor running a solid second now. Mertes back to 3rd, Hobbs 4th, Dyer 5th. Dyer now takes 4th from Hobbs, and the 35 of Dyer. So still side by side. Winstone, a little bit of wall time there.
Taylor and Mertes grabbed it too. I mean, Jourdain White suddenly looks super refined. He's driving away to the tune of 1.1, 1.2 seconds ahead of these guys, as Dyer will clear Hobbs out of turn 2. That quiets that battle for the moment, but Jourdain White is taking off. That was 5 laps to go last time by. This time it'll be 4.
It's incredible, actually, the way that he's opened up ground here, but again, when you're by yourself and you can be consistent, run consistent laps, you got battling cars behind you. That's what happens. And I'm not sure anybody can catch him without a caution at this point.
And just for the sake of looking at it, Zach Mertes, he's around!
And there's the caution.
That's going to change it all. Zach Mertes, our race controller.
Oh.
He is not going to be happy with that, and I don't think he has anybody to blame but himself.
It didn't appear like he lost it on his own.
Let's get a look back at it. Off of turn 2, he's all on his lonesome. He's got that contact on the left rear from earlier with Jourdain White. Loose, and brought it around town. Overcorrected just like Greaves on lap number 1.
Yep.
Just a much
a turn.
different circumstance.
Oof. So now,
Watch the hands.
Yeah, he's already. The minute you start chasing it and then try to correct it, that's what happens.
I'll tell you what, these trucks at super speedways, you get them just the right kind of sideways, they can blow over. He got kind of close. I'm not sure if it was just the suspension doing it, but watch him when he gets sideways here. The left side comes up rather high. This shot shows it a little better, but yeah, he got up rather high, trying to catch a little bit of air, and I don't think it ever would have gone over there, but it certainly tried. As here we go, down the pit lane, everybody going to want 4 tires if they've got them. It's interesting. Chris Winstone has stayed out.
Oh, track position. Well,
he's going to get eaten up.
Oh, did he? Yeah, probably. Yeah, but you know what? What did he have to lose at this point? He was toward the back of the field. I mean, you're going to have basically an overtime situation here, so why not?
There's White down and away first. 4 tires all around for everybody here on the lead lap. Also, we're learning that Sheriff Walker had a crash on his own, leaving the pit lane, or so he says out in YouTube chat. I love that when a driver is in YouTube chat to feed us a little bit of info, but while he had issues out of the pit lane earlier, Chris Winstone didn't hit the pit lane under this caution. 46 laps on those tires, that's not going to go very well.
Well, again, I applaud him for the effort here, because sometimes you got to just play the Hail Mary. If you're Chris Winstone and you were running 7th, came into the pits, you come out 7th, what are you going to do at that point? I feel like as much as I wouldn't personally have chosen this, but I understand why he did. And I think the net effect of this, Andrew, is you've got a car out front right now on 46 lap old tires. Everybody behind him gets affected by that. So it almost becomes a bit of a jam car situation, and this will be really interesting. White's in the best spot possible.
100%. On this restart, I just about guarantee that Chris Winstone is either going to spin the tires or just be a little bit slower getting going. And it's not his fault. He's just on old tires. If he does manage to get the power down nicely, still, turns 1 and 2, he's going to be held up. Those tires just are not going to work out for him. I am very confident in that, which means the outside line is the place to be. So watch for the 83, the 05, the 88 here on this restart. That does not mean, though, the bottom line is completely out of this. They're going to be desperate, though, trying to get by the 37 on this restart. We do have a visual aid for overtime rules as to how it works here on the iRacing.com sim. It's just about the same as it works in NASCAR. 2 laps, a green lap and a white lap, and then checkered to end it. So we've extended laps with a caution. This would be the end of regulation this lap. We're adding 2 laps here to finish this thing up. We have another attempt, I think maybe more than that even if we need them. But if the green lap is not completed, if we do not get the white flag before a yellow, we restart, we try it again. If we get the white flag at any time, the race is official. Here we go. Green flag, green-white checkered style, steering wheel nation overtime at Charlotte, and there goes Winstone. It's chaos in the front straightaway. Re-rack and restack. Let's try it again.
Oh, boy. By the way, unlimited overtime here, so we could be here a minute. CC's caution flag, 2 cars, the 6 and the 88, that is Taylor and Bryce Hobbs, the big dog. Oh, boy.
I don't mean to say I told you so, but I told you so.
Well, cautions breed cautions. You can see this coming in an overtime situation with the aggression button being what it's been on these restarts all night long. You could almost see the 2 leaders got together, and like, as you say, the 37, definitely not in a great position, but you know what? He's probably going to end up back up there, isn't he?
He's dropped to 4th under this yellow, and you can see when he hits the gas, it gets sideways. So he launches right about there, right at the end of the restart zone. It gets loose right there, up into Greaves, into Taylor, and then Hobbs gets Taylor eventually to actually cause the spinning of each of those trucks.
Yeah, that was the jam car effect that we talked about. And again, no disrespect to Chris, but on the old tires, you're kind of a rolling chicane, and he probably doesn't have a lot of experience with that situation.
No, I mean, he typically does do rolling starts on the GT side, but not after running 46 laps.
Right.
At 170 to 190 miles per hour, wearing those tires down. So that is definitely a learning moment for him. That needs to be a tire call next time, and even a 2-tire call would have been better than none right there. He could have had the track position still and taken a risk, as Taylor will grab his fast repair and head back out. Winstone's still in the box. He is taking that full set of tires now.
Here's the thing. Okay, we're going to do another overtime. He may be toward the back of the pack, but plenty of time for things to happen where he could end up back at the front of the pack on fresh tires. So Winstone in the 37. He's giving it a great ride tonight for sure. XReps.com overtime. Second one in the Miller Tech 300.
And so again, functionally, this is very similar to what you would see on a Friday, a Saturday, even a Sunday for NASCAR National Series. In the wall, though, under this caution is Cameron Taylor. I think he just lost it trying to warm his tires up, and let's see, I don't know that he has a fast repair remaining still. He better hit the pit lane. I don't think he's going to. He's still got a fast fix. These guys get 2. He's just warming those tires up, and I think gassed it up right here on the paint. Boom, wall.
Ooh. That was a hard hit, too.
Here's the onboard for Taylor. Watch for right here. Gas. Right here. No, next time. Right here.
Wow.
So expect the 6 to be a little bit underpowered on this restart coming up. He has not made it back to the pit lane for another fast repair, so he's going to be a little bit anemic, I think, when these guys hit the green flag in just a moment. Back on the lead lap, though, how about Sheriff Walker? He's back in this race. And frankly, Tom, on this kind of restart, he's still in it. Anything can happen.
Oh, that's why I say it. Even Winstone back there, if I were Chris Winstone, too, I'd be trying to be anywhere but around that 6 truck. Because either you can get held up or get wrecked.
Yeah, how the tables have turned.
Yeah.
Now it's Winstone caught behind the slower truck for the restart. And that'll be Taylor. Here we go. Restart on the way one more time. Overtime attempt number 2. This might go a little bit longer. Let's see, though. They want to get back to the white flag to make this race official. It's White and Greaves on the front row. Green flag again. 2 to go.
The 83, did he go early? It certainly looked like he may have.
He might have gone right at the beginning. The good thing, though, is iRacing will police that. So if he did go too early, iRacing will throw a penalty there.
Greaves in second, and again, he was the one that really got saved by the last caution because it got him back in the show. And look at him to the bottom, Grayson Greaves in the 05.
White flag.
For the lead.
Brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. One more time around. It's Greaves down low, White up top, Murtis waiting in the wind.
Side by side they go. It's Greaves, White. White now clears him. And now Murtis behind the 05 of Greaves. Is there enough time for one more shot at it? White in great shape here.
And Jordan White will win the Charlotte Miller Tech 300K. The Jamaican sensation is going to be adding some to your postage cost here, Tom.
Yeah.
How about that
sure.
for Jordan White, the Jamaican sensation?
Curtis got second, Greaves third, Dyer fourth, Hobbs finishes up in fifth, another top 5 finish for Bryce Hobbs, Walker in sixth, Winstone in seventh, Taylor eighth, and Turzak ends up ninth. How about that? The Jourdain train, Jamaican sensation, your Jamaican jet, whatever you want to call him. You can also add race winner. Incredible.
And he'll give us a smoke show here on the front straightaway at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Very well deserved. At one point, we were counting him out. Got the rightly timed caution, a couple of them even. And he is your victor at Charlotte Motor Speedway, much to the chagrin of Zach Burtis, who will go position number 2. And Grayson Greaves will finish third. I think each of these three certainly were the best tonight. I would argue maybe the 02 and 05 were a little more spectacular, but I think the comeback maybe takes the headlines here for Jourdain White. To fall all the way back like he did, self-inflicted issues on his pit stop cycle, and he overcomes them, redeems himself in victory lane tonight.
Great win for him, and to your point, I feel like almost every one of these drivers had a self-inflicted moment or two tonight, and a lot of them were able to rebound, and I mean, at the end, it was anybody's race. This was, for so few trucks in the field, this was a super exciting race, and I think we're getting ready here to talk to our race winner, but what an amazing comeback for him. Again, the unofficial results. Jourdain White gets the win. He led 26 laps, started at the back of the field, ends up at the front. Zach Murtis finished second. Grayson Greaves was third. Sam Dyer finishes fourth. Nice run for him. Bryce Hobbs steady as she goes in fifth. Sheriff Walker finishes sixth. Chris Winstone seventh. Cameron Taylor eighth. And Kyle Turzak finishes in ninth.
That's your full rundown of the drivers who made it out this evening to the Charlotte edition of the Miller Tech 300K. And Jourdain White victorious this evening at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll be talking to your full top 3 this evening. Still waiting on Jourdain actually to make the trek down to the broadcast waiting room, but let's go ahead and dial up driver number 83. Here he is, Tom.
Jourdain White, what a comeback. I can't wait to hear you talk about that race because you made it exciting from lap 1 right to the end. Congratulations on a big win. Walk us through your very busy evening.
Oh my God, that was some of the most fun I had. And that was the first time I ever got to race against Zach. And if you guys don't know, he kind of coaches me a lot. And the student beat the master tonight. But I accidentally got into him. I didn't mean to do it. I had a huge run coming into turn 3, and he was entering way higher than I was, so I just saw an opportunity. And he came down to defend it, a little bit aggressive on it, but thank God he saved it. If he was still second, I would have tried to give it back to him. But he lost a spot to, I believe, Cam. But yeah, the restarts too, it was pretty hectic and it was a lot of fun. You know, Grayson Greaves, we were going side by side. I was ripping the high lane like I'm Kyle Larson. It was nuts.
It was a fun drive to watch. You talk about a little bit for us what it was like in the middle of the race when you fell all the way back. You had a bit of a moment and fell all the way back to about 7th. What were you thinking at that point? And what was your plan if we didn't have a caution? How were you ever going to dig yourself out of that hole?
I mean, when that happened, I was like, I only have one trick up my sleeve that could work, could maybe not work. And right before the caution came out, I decided that I was gonna pit about lap 80 and get that early pit stop and then get a huge undercut to maybe put me back into this thing before our final pit stops. So I was trying to basically flip where we pit because I think everyone else was gonna run it out and then do about 24 laps at the end, while I was gonna do the 24 laps at the start and then pit for the final 48 laps. But you know, we didn't have to test if it worked because, you know, that caution helped.
Yeah.
So that's
very
great.
fortuitous yellow for you. Don't want to let you go here without, first of all, asking you to talk about your sponsors and anybody you like to thank, but also tell us just real quick, a few seconds of where are you from and what's your background in this?
Wait, repeat?
Talk about your sponsors, who you'd like to thank, and tell us where you're from and your background in this. Obviously, we know you're from Jamaica, but what's your background with sim?
Yeah, I'm from Jamaica. I guess you could say Kingston, St. Catherine, that area. I mean, for me, I was kind of around motorsport around when I was about 10 years old. My older brother, he was a big fan of Formula D, so I watched guys like Adam LZ. I don't know if any F3 fans out there know who that is.
Yep.
But yeah, he watched a bunch of Adam LZ, and I think he downloaded the F1 game on the PS4 one time, and I liked it. I always liked Need for Speed. And then summer of 2021, I found out about this little thing called NASCAR from pretty much not even from the video games. I just went on to Roblox one day, and then there's this game called NASCAR Unleashed. It was either NASCAR Unleashed or Backstretch Battles. One of those two games. I got hooked on it. Then I watched my first NASCAR race that year, like as in like online. You know, like I haven't gone to a real one yet. I really hope I do soon. And that was the Indy Road course, which was a very hilarious race. But since then, I've lived and breathed this motorsport. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Tell us about your sponsors. Also, how old are you?
Oh, right now I am 17 years of age, about
17.
2 months ago.
Wow. Okay, who are your sponsors? Talk about your sponsors.
So this scheme was a little bit inspired from back on the Roblox days. So we got Arrow on the car, you know, McLaren stuff. I used to run a lot of like, you know, McLaren IndyCar. Like the only race I actually ever went to, like motor race, is an IndyCar race, and it's the only series I own a diecast for, and it isn't an Arrow McLaren diecast. So they're on the car, and thank you to Ethan, ER81 Designs. The car says GLR on it. That's my little startup race team. And yeah, got the Circle K banner. You know, that was for a different league, Aska, but you know, we got to run it here in SWN and get that race win.
Oh, congratulations on a huge win. We got to get together with you to arrange a TV appearance here. And so we'll get your information from Andrew or Zach, and we'll get you fixed up. But great job tonight. That was a lot of fun to watch, and we hope you'll continue to race with us the rest of the year.
Yep, thank you, Tom. And yep, I'll see you afterwards. Later, man.
All right. Well, great job for Jourdain White. That is your winner. And I think Andrew is getting ready to interview a very familiar racer who finished second tonight. Ran a great race.
This guy might be a little too familiar. I see him in broadcasts on Mondays, Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays. Here on a Friday, I'm talking to him as a driver. Maybe later he'll be in Minecraft. I've seen this guy at real racetracks, Darlington, Charlotte, Wake County, Florence. I mean, Zach, I can't get away from you, and you could not get away from that lead tonight. 75 laps led. Of course, you started first, but you quickly had guys to battle. How fun was it?
Heartbroken is all I can say. It was a lot of fun. To be perfectly honest, I kind of just wanted to put on a show. I wasn't really contending for the win, if that makes any sense. So my mentality was, Tom has been going through a lot to put this show on, and I wanted to show everyone the kind of show that they can sign up for and help raise these car counts up and give us a bit more of a show, especially since we're going to some really great tracks on the schedule coming up. But, you know, I kind of got a little cocky, I'll say, and I decided that I wanted to put on a little bit of a show. With about 30 laps to go was when I decided it's time for me to get serious, and that's when I tried to start pulling away, and Jourdain and Grayson started battling it out, and Jourdain finally got clear, and I'm like, okay, I need to watch where he's going, and I think I did a bit of a bad job defending, and that's why he was able to get to me. Now, granted, he drove through my left rear, but, you know, that's here nor there. I'm not mad about it. I went back and looked at it, and I'm like, I need to look at this from the perspective of what I tell these guys when they're coming to me for Mercy Sports Development. I put myself in the position for that to happen by not properly defending and letting Jourdain utilize the top side, get the runs that he needed. So I feel like, as much as, you know, that if I was in race control, I would put that on Jourdain for making the contact. I more so also put that on myself for letting him get to me at that point.
And of course, it got a little chaotic there a couple of times. We had the early caution or two, and then a late caution or two. That clearly changed your plans a whole lot.
It did. I had to use my fast repair at the start of the race because Kyle completely missed the pace car, and then for some reason, I have never seen this happen before in the iRacing.com sim. Kyle Terzak went to go pit. He went to his box. It held him there completely. It wouldn't let him leave the box. There was nothing he could do to leave. I cleared his black flag. He couldn't leave. He disconnected and reconnected, but it would not let him leave the box. It was a very weird situation. I don't fully understand what happened. As someone who has been race control for all of these races, I tried to do what I could. There was not much that I could do. I had never seen the situation before, and I wish I could have done more for Kyle. I hate it for him because we've seen Kyle on Pit Stop TV quite a bit with the Sarah Pierce Fleet Super Series and with the Impel Motorsports National Tour, and I'm sure we'll see him once Sarah resumes on Pit Stop TV. But it's just a weird situation. I hate it for him because he's an absolutely stand-up driver, and we've seen him be very, very competitive, and I hate to see that he got held there. But I think the top three that were out there, me, the 05, and the 83, we all put on what I think was a really great show for you fans out there. And if I was at Charlotte Motor Speedway right now running the summer shoot, I'd be, how about that, Charlotte Motor Speedway? Come on, how about that?
Yeah, the postman.
Well, Zach, it's obviously going to talk to you in this kind of setting. I know you wanted the extra spot a little bit ahead, but hey, at second place, as you say, nothing to scoff at, right? I mean, it's still a good night. You still finished well, and I think everybody gets to learn it and take it into the next one. Zach, good to talk to you, and hopefully we're talking to you maybe, I mean, usually I would say hopefully we're talking to you a little more down the road, but you're supposed to be race controller. Maybe you've convinced Tom, though, that you can do a little bit of driving and race control at the same time. Who knows? We'll see you in Nashville, but good to talk to you, Zach.
Absolutely. Just remember, tune in to Pit Stop TV tomorrow. We have got a breast cancer charity race coming up. It's going to be a fun night of racing. Legends on the Charlotte Oval. Then you've got ARCA cars and trucks. So, you know, you're getting a preview of tomorrow. And then I'm going to be stepping in for the Legend car tomorrow. Breast cancer in general is near and dear to my heart. So I would love to support the cause. I know you love to support the cause, Andrew. And I know your sister just finished up with breast cancer treatment. So congratulations to her. But tune in tomorrow, Pit Stop TV. We got more racing coming up.
That we do. And then Zach Murtis, driver of the number 2 this evening, usually race control here on Friday nights. But Tom, how about the driver of the 05?
Grayson Greaves. A new paint scheme, Grayson. What's with the orange instead of the green?
I don't know. I was just maybe thinking about doing a little bit of a change up, you know, have a little bit of fun with it. And the orange was just the kind of go that we had because one of the sponsors, one of my main sponsors is Tibbetts. So it just kind of worked out, and the orange pops kind of like the green. So
it does.
Yeah.
It made you a lot more aggressive tonight. Walk us through that race. I feel like you stepped up the aggression button about 3 or 4 notches really put on a great show and had some hair-raising moments at the same time.
Yeah, kind of to begin the story, it started on lap 1. Like coming out of 4, the truck just with cold tires does not perform well, and got loose up off of 4. Tried pushing it up the track, trying to catch it, but didn't work out. It snapped to the right and kind of ended up into the wall there. But yeah, after that, I moved to a different Discord channel. Couldn't focus like whatsoever, but yeah, everybody was super aggressive. It was a good race. I had a lot of fun. Some really good drivers in here. Zach is extremely fast. Wasn't really expecting that, but yeah, it was 124 laps of just pure fighting. So really aggressive, really fun race. So yeah.
Were you surprised at how aggressive and how racy this whole event was, Grayson? Because I feel like Vegas was a little bit more calm, and we come here to Charlotte, and I felt like you guys you were flat out and half turned over for most of this race. There really didn't seem to be a period where everybody just kind of tucked it in and waited around a while and saved their equipment. It seemed like it was flat out from the start.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much just like Charlotte's a fast track. Las Vegas has a little bit more space on exit walls, but Charlotte's a little bit tighter and a little bit more fast. But coming off of 4, that outside wall is just a killer for everybody. If you don't plan 3 and 4 right, you're just gonna end up into that wall, and it can really mess up the toe. But yeah, honestly, I wasn't really expecting Charlotte to be super aggressive like how it was tonight, but man, did it not. It definitely prevailed as a good track.
Well, you did a good job to come back at the end and rebound to a 3rd place finish, and you and Bryce Hobbs, I think, are going to be fighting for the point lead here going into Nashville in June, but of course everybody gets a drop, so I think the key here is just going to be to try to be as consistent as you can and get some wins from here on out. Talk about who helps you make all this happen, buddy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tibbetts Lumber, main sponsor on the hood of the car. Harbor Home Builders, my second main sponsor. GFLA Constructions, Landis Exterior Roofing, Ace Doors and Windows, Optima Batteries. It would not be possible without them. It wouldn't be possible without my mom, my dad, my sister. They always care for me, always push me to the limit, and I'm super thankful for them, and thankful for my fans as well that stick with me to the end.
Well, congratulations on a great run, Grayson. You were a lot of fun to watch tonight, and you're off to a great start so far in the series. Certainly right there in the thick of things for the championship. So look forward to seeing you at Nashville in a month's time.
Yes, sir. I look forward to being there as well. Thank you, Tom, for having me out tonight.
Absolutely. Grayson Greaves, your 3rd place finisher in the Tibbetts Lumber 05 truck. Andrew, and boy, the top 3, what a race this was. It's just like we talked about it. It seems like this was basically almost a flat out race from the start. Everybody was on the chip, and it made it a whole lot of fun, even with only 9 trucks.
It was definitely another very, very exciting race. If you look at the CC's business race stats there, bottom right of your screen, 5 cautions for 15 laps, so a little more mixing up in that regard. We got 23 lead changes in these 130 laps, so we mixed things up a pretty fair amount this evening here at Charlotte, and it certainly gives us, I think, extra hope for Nashville and beyond. And as always, a big thank you to the partners with this series. Of course, you see Steering Wheel Nation, Miller Tech, Inside Groove Pit Bass, and Martin PC. I mean, none of this is possible without them.
Absolutely, and certainly appreciate the fine folks from Miller Tech. And again, this is an Amish-owned company, and so you know the quality is going to be there. If you are looking for a battery that will last you for a long time, you can't do better than Miller Tech's 10-year hassle-free warranty. If you've got an RV, a boat, or a golf cart, or you just live the off-road lifestyle, Miller Tech is the place to go for your battery needs. And You can do that by going to MillerTechEnergy.com. Use the code NASCAR10. They'll give you 10% off. MillerTech, the official sponsor of none other than Noah Gragson in NASCAR Cup. So you know that they are a cool bunch of folks because Noah's awesome. So thanks again to the folks at MillerTech and, of course, our friends at Martin PC as well. MartinPC.com for all your sim rig needs. And Andrew, this was probably a lot more fun than it should have been here because those guys put on a show tonight. And I'm looking forward to Nashville. We get 3 or 4 of our regulars back for the next one. And if we get all of these guys to continue with us, this is going to be a heck of a summer of racing here with the SWN Truck Series. I can't wait.
Of course, on our side, a big thank you to Whiplash SimCams, MXWraps.com, ATVO, Murders Esports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. And speaking of one of those partners, NARL, we can congratulate Jordan White. Let me actually bring the B-roll down for a second and get back at the sim for a moment. And congratulate Jordan White as today's driver of the day. I don't think that was any surprise, frankly. The comeback was enough right there. I mean, he did a fantastic job bringing it back through the field and grabbing the win this evening. And certainly, as you mentioned, looking forward to races like Nashville, Michigan, and such as we advance throughout the summer. I can see if these guys stick with it, if Jordan, even Sam, even Chris, Cameron, if these guys stick with it, we get some of the guys like Dalton Kilroe, Jason McCook, and some of those others back in the field, and we even add to it a little bit. I've got some guys reaching out to me actively. We could really have some interesting racing going further and further into the summer. There you see the next 3, Nashville, Michigan, Atlanta. We've got Atlanta there with the old track logo. That is the legacy Atlanta, right? In race number 6? 5? Yeah, 6.
Yep, race 6. That's correct. Yep, Legacy Atlanta. And then some combination of the TBDs, some combination of probably Richmond, North Wilkesboro, and maybe Watkins Glen somewhere in there as well. And you saw the rest of the events. And again, we're building this. Every winner gets a trophy and much more media around this race and going forward into June and the rest of the summer. So we're trying to do this right here. So we'd love to have more racers. If you want to race with us, just InsideGroupPitPass.com is where you get all the info. And we look forward to having a big field for Nashville next month.
And as far as what's upcoming for us here at Pit Stop TV, this is what the next 3 look like tomorrow night. The All-American Racing Network comes right back here to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Legends, ARCA cars, trucks, all on the racetrack tomorrow night. Not at the same time, though. We got the Whiplash Racing League Legends up first for 50 laps around the quarter mile at Charlotte Motor Speedway. ARCA cars take the wives and girlfriends out for 30 laps, and then trucks finish the night off 100 laps right back around here. The same kind of action you saw tonight. Just copy paste tomorrow night, going to be a lot of fun, plus the Legends and ARCA cars. And then Monday evening, Dover Motor Speedway for the NORA Retro Cup Series presented by Harpoon Design. 2003 NASCAR Cup cars around a really, really challenging 1-mile racetrack. And Tuesday, BRB takes the ARCA cars for the Sundance Pro Series out to Texas Motor Speedway. Should be a lot of fun. Beyond there, we've got 410s at Eldora on Wednesday. NARL GT3 cars at Road America, with the amateur drivers, actually. So Chris Winstone on the mic for that on Thursday. And, of course, rinse, repeat week after week. Thanks so much for watching here this evening. It's been a pleasure, as always. Tom, any final thoughts before we depart from Charlotte?
I'll add that for all the great motorsports content, our site is 24/7, 365, steeringwheelnation.com, at the SWN Media on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And of course, that includes a bunch of content that we're doing around the sim event that will carry forward right into the summer. So thanks again, Andrew, to you and the staff for doing such a great job here on Pit Stop TV. We love working with you, and we're looking forward to building that relationship as we go into the summer months.
Got a lot to look forward here in 2026. And Congratulations once again to Jordan White. Solid top 3 this evening. Thanks for watching this evening. We'll see you all next time, hopefully tomorrow night, for some breast cancer awareness racing for a cause right back here at Charlotte. We'll see you then.
MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure.